The reason I always say that I am the worst Texas Longhorns fan in the world is because they always hype us up. I never buy into it, and I never let myself get disappointed. So I don't really go with the roller coaster up and down because I never let myself get too far highs. Not going to be throwing on the helmet for Arch Manning to just completely embarrass us in front of the country. What I will be doing, however, is I'll be going through and answering your fantasy football questions, reviewing your fantasy football teams, your drafts, and hopefully helping you come out with some super strong rosters. But first thing is we're going to be getting to all the quick questions, the start set questions, the trade questions, the super messages before we get over to the full-blown roster reviews. Now, Star 09 coming through. Quarterback, we're going to be playing. We're going to go Caleb over Fields week 1. Obviously, Fields get an incredible amount of rushing upside. I don't love the matchups for either guy. Going over and looking at what we have with the wide receiver position, I guess we are going to go with Igbuka. And Leggett actually does look appealing considering the fact that you have no Jalen Coker, you have no Adam Thielen in Carolina. So I understand if you really wanted to go with Leggett. For me, week 1, though, I think I'm going to be a little more boring. We're going to take Harvey. I understand, yes, Dobbins should be the starter, and this is going to be a split backfield. But at the end of the day, the Broncos are favored heavily in this game, so I think they're going to be able to run the ball a bunch in the second half. Now, Alpha was 55. Try sending you a super message. Didn't actually type anything in the box. Let me get you set up with a free start set question just in case you wanted to ask one of those. Pac-Man coming through with the trade. Here, only put stuff on one side, didn't put stuff on the other side. Let me send you over a free trade question so you can resubmit that. Let's move this over to Jared. This is a trade where we're sending Dak Prescott, Josh Jacobs, Xavier Worthy for Fields, Gibbs, and Deebo Samuel. So Deebo's almost a 0 for me, as crazy as that sounds. Dak versus Fields. I'd rather have Dak. Super flex format, so I understand that quarterback values are obviously going to matter a bit. If it's a 6-point passing touchdown league, Dak Prescott's going to have a much larger gap over Justin Fields. If it's a 4-point passing touchdown format, the points per game shouldn't be too far off just because Fields going to run the ball. And I'd way, way rather have, honestly, I love me some Josh Jacobs. I love me some Xavier Worthy as well. I've drafted a ridiculous amount of these guys this year. But I think I am going to take the Jahmyr Gibbs side. I still think that Gibbs is going to be in a completely different tier than any of these other players. Now, Emmanuel coming through. This is a trade where we're looking at Jonathan Taylor, David Montgomery, Kyle Pitts, who's a waiver wire tight end, versus Trey McBride. I'd rather have Jonathan Taylor and David Montgomery over Trey McBride. So let's go. 10-man says, already made this trade. Was this a bad move? Amari Hampton to Bucky's an upgrade. Devontae Adams to Pickens. It looks a little more like a lateral move than it did beforehand, considering the Michael Parsons trade. So it looks like Dallas is going to have to throw the ball a ton. So yeah, I'm completely fine if you wanted to go out there and you wanted to get Bucky at this cost. Now, Lane Young, we need help with some flex spots. We got to pick 2 flexes. I'm assuming that Devon Achane plays week 1, so I'm not going to want to play Ollie Gordon. I think we're going to take the combination of Jerry Jeudy in a really good matchup against the Bengals with Flacco under center. And then I'll probably take Tyrone Tracy. Igbuka, more likely than not, absolutely crushes with no Jalen McMillan, with no Godwin early in the season. But with the rookies, I do think you can always afford to just wait a little bit longer. You can just wait to see them break out and then start them the next week, to be honest. Okay, now Tango with the start set. Here we have Hollywood in the flex spot right now. For me, while I completely understand wanting to play Hollywood with no Rice and wanting to bench Ridley in a really tough matchup against the Broncos, I still think I would actually play Ridley over Hollywood. Idealistic napkin coming through. Tight ends, I'm going to be... This is tough. Dallas Cowboys going to have to throw the ball a ton against Philly. But also the Buffalo Bills are going to as well against the Ravens. I think that the Bills-Ravens game should be one of the highest scoring games of the year. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Kincaid over Ferg. And then in that other flex spot, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Igbuka. Jennings is banged up. Josh Downs is banged up. So I think you can expect all these players to start a little slower. Alec coming out with our next question. I'm going to go Britton Strange over Zach Ertz at tight ends. And then in the flex spot, I think long term, you're going to be taking one of the rookies here with either Matthew Golden or Igbuka. But again, with the rookie receivers, I think we can wait to see them break out week 1 and then start them the following week. So we'll take Tracy. Watchtower says better to go for Burrow with the Chase stack or Jaden Daniels. Definitely Jaden Daniels. If you are able to trade Terry Fields for a quarterback here, I understand 8-team league. Like, these players don't have that nearly as much value as they would in a 12-team format. But, like, you go and you get Jaden Daniels way before you trade for Joe Burrow, just given the rushing upside that you're going to get from Daniels. Now, Antonio coming out. We need a flex. We have Chris Olave, Stephon Diggs, Igbuka. I'm going to go with the Olave. I know we keep saying that, like, yes, we want to be hesitant with the rookies, expect them to start a little bit slower than what we really want them to do. But at the same time, like Stephon Diggs coming off a significant injury, I don't know if we can jam in Diggs. Olave kind of meets you in the middle. It's not the worst matchup in the world week 1, even if the Saints project to be the worst offense in the league. Like long term, I think you're going to be playing Igbuka over Olave. Week 1, though, I think we can go Olave. Now, your boy Dime says start Sutton or drop someone for the second quarterback in a 10-team PPR format. I would not start Cortland Sutton here. If you were making me drop somebody, we'd be dropping Jawan Jennings. But fact of the matter is, I don't think you need to drop him for a second quarterback. If you wanted to just stream QBs, I think you could just drop Dak. Rydog coming through. We have Achane, Adams, Sharp versus Jacob, Spears, Brian Thomas. Achane versus Brian Thomas. Give me Brian Thomas. Jacobs versus Devontae Adams, Ollie Gordon, and Zach Charbonnet. Give me Jacobs. So I think like the Brian Thomas and the Josh Jacobs side wins this relatively easily for me. Chalk Milk trading James Cook for Breece Hall, which is a downgrade. George Kittle for Trey McBride, which is an upgrade. It's an 8-team league. So it's going to be an 8-team format. I think I would just opt to overpay for the elite tight end with McBride, but Kittle's elite as well. Really, that's going to be a personal preference type deal. Now, K-Matt coming through here for the flex spots. Can't start Rice week 1. I think you have to play Igbuka over like Jordan Mason, Dylan Sampson, Jaden Reed. If Jaden Reed plays, I'll play Jaden Reed. If Jaden Reed misses, I'll go Jordan Mason. But Jaden Reed's plan A, but it's no guarantee that he plays. A-Way says 6-team league, best draft for a quarterback, 6-point passing touchdown, plus big play, 4PO. Don't exactly know what 4PO means. But I would say if it's a 6-team league, go ahead and take the 10-team start 7 PPR draft sheet. Use that and move the quarterbacks up even higher and move the tight ends up even higher. Like in a 6-team league, I will take Brock Bowers ahead of Brian Thomas. I'll take Brock Bowers up with where like Malik Neighbors is going. You aggressively draft those elite level tight ends. Now, Just Sherman coming through. We are trading JCM for Rashee Rice. Hell yes, you go and get Rice. Like I know I've said this 1,000 times, but I have JCM in the Flock League, and I would make this trade in an absolute heartbeat. Big Money says, big fan, homie, help me out. Here we're trading Bijan, and we're down tiering to Hampton, Travis Hunter, Tyler Warren. If this was a dynasty league, hell yes, you'd make this move. But in terms of us doing it right now, no, there's no way you can. Please just go ahead and keep the best player. Keep Bijan Robinson here for sure. Big boy Jimmy Johns trading James Cook and Ja'Cory Crosskey-Merritt. 10-team league. Looking at the running back room that we'd have left over, we'd have Bucky and Trevion. We have so many receivers that I don't love doing this. What's the running back that you could pick up off waivers? You have like Josh Downs on the waiver wire at wide receiver, and your best running back on waivers is Byshell Tootin. I think the value sides on the A.J. Brown, I think value's on the A.J. Brown side. I just don't think you can afford it. AV8 coming through with the trade. This is London, Jameson, Diggs versus Lamb and Pollard. Pollard, Jameson, the same for me. Would I rather have Diggs in London or CeeDee Lamb? You're drafting in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, 10-team league. This is CeeDee Lamb, and it's not close. J Moon with the trade. Travis Hunter versus Rashee Rice. Very much going to be dependent on your team and your league. I have Travis Hunter ranked wide receiver 27. I have Rashee Rice ranked wide receiver 29. If you weren't going to plan on starting any of these guys until halfway through the year anyway, you'd go with Rice. But if it's a deeper format where you need starters out the gate, you go Hunter. Can y'all please spam the chat? What side would you rather have? Would you rather have Travis Hunter or Rashee Rice? Travis Hunter or Rashee Rice, please let me know. And why are your messages not showing up on the screen? Okay, there we go. We got Rice, Hunter, Hunter, Rice, Hunter, Rice. Hunter, Rice, Hunter. I don't know. Again, my opinion is if you need someone to start early, you go Travis Hunter. If you're just shooting for the long-term upside, you go Rashee Rice. Team's not linked here, so I don't know which one exactly. Now, Educated Planunia coming through. Running back, I would go Tracy over Eckler and Harvey week 1. Down in the flex, I know that we had been saying to go with Devonta Smith over Tet McMillan up until this point. But now that you have no Jalen Coker, you have no Adam Thielen, everything has just been thinned out for Tet McMillan, where I think you can push him even higher than where he initially was. So we're going to go ahead and we will take Tet here. Okay. Now, Enchanting says, sent me this trade today, thinking about accepting. Brian Thomas, in my opinion, different tier than Chase Brown. I'd rather have Pearsall over Jordan Mason. Can we get away with the running back downgrade? We'd have Bijan, Trevion, and Isaiah Pacheco left. So with how good your running back room is, I think you go ahead and you get Brian Thomas. I think the range of outcomes with Thomas is just too good to pass up on. Now, dollars coming through. This is Jefferson and Kyron versus London and Bowers. It's going to be Jefferson and Kyron for me. Jefferson's in a completely different tier than London. And I mean, I've seen some crazy leagues where like Bowers and Kyron kind of go near each other. So give me the Jefferson side of this. Let me refresh this. And as I do this, I want to remind you all, of course, if you're wondering how people are sending in a bunch of free questions, they got the 2025 season pass. So if you have not already got the 2025 season pass, it sets you up with so many things like the rest of season rankings, the weekly rankings, all the draft sheets. It sets you up with unlimited tool access, including the trade calculator, trade finder, my team's page, range of outcomes, the whole 9 yards. And if you use code FLOCK when you get the season pass, you get free questions to ask me on the live streams. And we're going to be doing these live streams every single day. It's only $34 and it's a one-time payment. I will go ahead and grab the link and send it in the live chat, but I'm sure you've heard me say this 1,000 times. It's flockfantasy.com. It's by far and away the cheapest offer that we have ever had. And yes, you can see a lot of people got it based off how many free questions that we are answering in these streams. Now, Colonial Tans coming through with the trade. This is Daniels, Evan Ingram versus Trey McBride, Bo Nix. I'd rather have Trey McBride over Daniels. I'd rather have Bo Nix over Evan Ingram. So I think just raw points per game, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take the Trey McBride side of this. Now, Bump Diddley. We're trading Justin Herbert for Jalen Hurts. I'm assuming that we're missing something here. I'm going to hook you up with a free trade question because I have a feeling that maybe you didn't put this in correctly. Because I'd rather have the Jalen Hurts side and it's not even really close. I'm assuming we're missing something on the other end. Now, Synamics coming through with another start set. Here, while I agree that I think we need to be pushing up Tet McMillan post Jalen Coker injury, I'm probably still not going to start him just over DeAndre Swift week 1, where all the backup running backs in Chicago are banged up at the moment. And it looks like Swift is just penciled in to have that 3-down workload right out the gate. Now, Garrido says, feeling weak at wide receiver and made a mistake going with an elite tight end and an elite quarterback. What are your thoughts? Pivoting from Bowers to McBride, downgrade, but not massive. Lamar to Purdy, massive downgrade. Pittman to London, massive upgrade. I would not do this deal. I'm going to take the Lamar and Bowers side. If you wanted to make a trade like this, you do not need to include Bowers for McBride. If you wanted to make a trade like this, it would be just simply Lamar and Michael Pittman Jr. for Brock Purdy and Drake London. But I don't see why you need to be downgrading at tight end as well to get that deal done. And if you do need to downgrade at tight end, I may not make the trade. Money Mitch with the trade. This is Kamara, London, Nico versus Trevion, Jamar, and Addison. So Nico to Chase upgrade. Kamara to Henderson, Tomato to Motto up to you. London to Addison downgrade. It's a 12-team start 9 format. 12-team start 9 league. I'm going to go with this side because the depth's going to matter more. If it was a start 7 where you only started 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, I'll take the best player with Chase. But here, I don't think you can afford it, to be honest. Now, Danik coming through. This is a start sit. Quarterback, we're going to go with Burrow week 1 against the Browns. Running back, we're going to be taking Kenneth Walker, and I'm going to take Pollard, even in a tough matchup against Denver. You have no Spears. Lamb, A.J. Brown are both auto starts. London's an auto start in the flex. Tight end, I'm going to go Kraft over Ferg with Reed banged up. Ferg having the tough matchup against Philly. And then in the 2 other flex spots, I think we're going to take the combination of Jameson and Trevion Henderson. Not super excited to just immediately jam in. Trevion week 1. Again, I think that Ramondre is probably going to be a little bit annoying with the role that we have, but I think you probably have to do it here anyway, because what's the alternative? You play Deebo Samuel? And I don't know if we can get away with that. Okay. Now, Danik coming through. This is Isaiah Pacheco, Derrick Henry versus A.J. Brown, Tony Pollard. Pacheco to Pollard, definite upgrade, especially in the short term with the Spears injury. Long term, I don't know. Derrick Henry versus A.J. Brown. It's a full PPR format, so I understand maybe it being a little bit closer. I'm probably going to go with the Derrick Henry side of this, though. Because again, in the short term, I think the Tony Pollard, A.J. Brown side wins, but I think you probably get Spears back week 5. Now, Coinman coming through. It's a start set. We need some help with the flexes. Our best options on the bench are like Judkins. I know we have Torrey Horton. Honestly, F it. I think I would start Kyle Pitts over Torrey Horton week 1. I think points per game rest of the season, Horton probably has maybe has a higher ceiling. But I'm more confident in Kyle Pitts out there running routes week 1 than Horton. Like Horton, we just simply don't know. Okay. And let's move this over to Big Verg. Here in the flex, we are looking at Olave versus Downs versus Harvey and Ford. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Olave. I'm concerned about the overall offense. You can say the same thing about Ford, though. And at least with Olave, we know what the role is going to be. And Downs coming off the hamstring. I think you want to see it before you start him. Okay, now, Paraded. We have 1 flex that we need to pick. Hollywood obviously gets the bump considering the Rice suspension week 1. Travis Hunter, we don't know exactly what the role is going to be like. Mooney coming off a shoulder injury. Jaden Reed injured as well. JCM, I have no idea what the role is going to be like. So honestly, I'm just going to go for the highest ceiling. We'll take Travis Hunter. Am I excited about it? No. I'm excited about it long term. I just think that week 1, all those plays are such shaky starts. Now, Jacob says, what do you think of the trade and who should we look to add? Brees to Chase Brown. Clearly, give me... Honestly, let's look at it this way. Lamar versus Chase Brown. Give me Chase Brown. Brees versus Kyler. Give me Brees. I think it just comes down to what you are projecting out for Chase Brown this season. If you think he truly is a top 5 running back, looking at the best potential ads that we could have here, Javante's on waivers currently. Looking at our team, you drop Ollie Gordon for Javonte Williams. I understand we have HN. I understand maybe you're a little concerned about the injury for him, but there's just frankly no world in which we can be rostering Ollie Gordon over Javonte when they're telling us HN's going to play week 1. But it looks like we're about to hit 100 likes on this stream. So go down there, and if you haven't already, drop a like on the live stream. Subscribe to the channel if you play fantasy football, of course. And when we hit 100 likes, we are going to go ahead and we are going to give away some free questions to ask on the site. Now, Eric coming through. This is a trade where we're sending Roman Kraft for Reed and Tyler Warren. Give me Rome over Tyler Warren, Reed and Kraft, tomato. I'm actually probably going to take the Rome side as much as I like Tyler Warren. I think points per game between Tucker Kraft and Jaden Reed may not be that far off this year, and you get one of them at tight end. But Futron says, someone just dropped Michael Pittman to the waiver wire. I have him on the waivers claim. Should I drop Nick Chubb for the Arizona Cardinals defense to stream since I have the Patriots defense? So I am not wanting to drop Nick Chubb, especially if it just means that we are going to be rostering a second defense, considering the fact that as of today, Nick Chubb is the starting running back for the Houston Texans. Nick Chubb probably doesn't have a ton of juice. The Texans offense probably isn't the best, but I don't know if we can say it's the worst. So for me, I would say that if you don't want to play the Patriots defense week 1 with their matchup, which, for me, I think their matchup's okay, right? Let me just pull this up again. I think they play the Raiders. Yeah, they play the Raiders. It's a good matchup. I understand the Cardinals get to play the Saints, and maybe that's a better one. But no. Yeah, definitely pick up Michael Pittman Jr. If you wanted to make up another play, you wouldn't be dropping Chubb for the Cardinals DST. If you really value the Cardinals DST against the Saints, you drop the Pats for them. But I think the Pats have a fine matchup too. But let me hook you up with some free questions just in case you have anything else you want to follow up with. And we had 100 likes on the stream as well. So since we had 100 likes, go ahead and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the live chat right now. And we'll go ahead and we'll pick one of y'all to also give away free start set questions and trade questions too. Only way I can find you on the site though is if you use code FLOCK on the site. Now, Frank DeTank says, Quinshon Judkins is on the waiver wire. Should I drop Mims? Yes, sir. Definitely drop Marvin Mims. Pick up Quinshon Judkins. It's pretty much exactly what we were talking about in the video today. If by week 3 we don't get any additional information about Judkins, then you can go ahead and drop him. Here for how we're filling this out, DJ Moore is definitely going to have to be the flex play. You're going to just jam in Amari and Hampton as a starter right out the gate. And then I'm going to go Evan Ingram over for week 1. I think that if you look at the implied team total for Dallas, it's pretty low going up against Philly. But let's pick somebody in the chat to give away a free question to. We got Bear Down to give away those free vouchers. Let me see if I can find you on the site, my friends. And if not, we will move to the next person. All right. Perfect. We got you. There are... Okay, what the hell? How many accounts have you made with the name Bear Down? There are like 5 that popped up for me. We're going to click the one that you most recently asked a question with. And we're going to send that account over a couple free vouchers. They should be in your account now. It's the account that got the 2025 season pass. Okay, and let's move this over. Now, Oros Kevin. This is a trade where we're sending Brian Robinson and we are getting back Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. It's the receivers and not even remotely close. And I'm going to hook you up with another trade question because there's no way this was the real deal. You most likely filled that in wrong. Trap Squad says orphan team attempting to get an upgrade at wide receiver. Any suggestions? If we are looking at trying to come up with a trade here, an expendable piece, honestly, I don't even know if you have an expendable piece. I think the suggestion that we would have is if you wanted to try to win now and you wanted to try to pivot from Andrews to a wide receiver. I guess you can do it considering the fact we have Hawk and Likely. But Luke coming through. This is Jalen Warren and JCM versus Kenneth Walker. I definitely would take the Kenneth Walker side of this, especially in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league like yours, where the depth isn't going to be that important. Okay. Now, Ruthless Russian. This is a trade we're sending Brian Thomas and Tet McMillan versus Malik Neighbors and Matthew Golden. Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors. I'd rather have Neighbors. It's not that far off. Given everything that we've had surrounding the Carolina wide receiver room, where now you also have Jalen Coker on the IR, I think it's just thinned out to a point where Tet McMillan's going to have a crazy high target share, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to take Tet McMillan. Now, Omnit Ryan is trading Bucky and JCM for Devon Achane. This is a multi-flex league. With the Achane injury, I don't view them that far apart anymore. I mean, we even saw Bucky actually get drafted ahead of Devon Achane in the Flock League. So I would really just take whichever side had Ja'Cory Krosky merit on it, to be honest. Okay. Now, Redemption coming through. We need a flex. I think, this is interesting. We're going to go ahead and we will take Garrett Wilson. I think it's going to be very difficult for you to submit a flex every week with how good your roster is. I wouldn't fault you at all for trying to make a 2-for-1 deal to just get an elite tight end. That's how many options you have here. I'll go try to trade Garrett Wilson and Tyler Warren for Kittle. Josh coming through. Here are best options on the bench at the moment. It's probably Igbuka. Would I play Igbuka over Evans, Sutton, or DK Metcalf week 1? Probably not. Quarterback, I guess we're just going to be rolling with Bo Nix, who's completely fine with the matchup he has. Gary trading JCM for Stephon Diggs. So 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, so the wide receiver depth doesn't matter as much. But our wide receiver room's not that strong with the Ayuk injury, so yeah, we'd go ahead and we'd get Diggs here. Now, Airsight, always happy to see you. Running back, we are going to go ahead and we are going to jam in Chuba Hubbard. And then down in the flex, half PPR, I think we probably go Pollard over Devonta Smith. Again, I don't like the matchup. I don't like the matchup, but at the end of the day, when you have no Spears, he's a bell cow running back. So even if it's a garbage offense this week and a garbage matchup, it's hard not to just take him. Ethan coming through. This is Lamar, Pollard, Waddle versus Fields, Dak, Hampton, and Tet. So Lamar versus Hampton, give me Lamar, but it's not that far off. Pollard versus Tet, give me Tet. Waddle versus Fields and Dak, I would rather have Waddle. So I'm probably going to take the best player here with the Lamar side. Now, C still coming through. We need a running back, a receiver, and a flex. Running back, you're going to go Kenneth Walker. And the flex, I can pretty much tell you we're going to just auto start James Cook. And then at wide receiver, Cortland Sutton versus Devonta Smith is really our 2 calls. Probably going to go ahead and take Sutton. I think the Eagles' plan A in every game that they play this year, obviously, is going to be to run the ball. And against Dallas, I think that they should be able to effectively do so. I don't know if that game is going to project out to be a shootout. Now, Goon coming through. This is Pollard and Tet McMillan versus Kyron Williamson and Nick Buka. I would rather have Kyron over Tet. Igbuka versus Pollard. Give me Pollard, not that far off. I think Kyron's the best player in the deal. Not super excited about this, of course, because if we are looking at Tet, he is just absolutely skyrocketing considering the Carolina injuries. Now, Aiden making a trade where it's Downs, Devontae Adams, Khalil Shakir versus Kenneth Walker and Drake London. London versus Jacobs, up to you in my opinion, post Micah Parsons trade and the right tackle going down in Atlanta. Devontae Adams, Kenneth Walker, up to you as well. I have them at 41 and 42 in our rankings. Khalil Shakir doesn't matter much in a 10-team league. So honestly, I think that this is a fair deal. I think it's up to you. I think most people in the chat, however, would tell you Drake London and Kenneth Walker. Now, not Marco coming through with our next question. We're definitely going to play Chuba here at running back. Javonte, brutal matchup. We don't know his role. And at the same time, Calvin, really brutal matchup against Denver. And real quick, yes, we are going to be doing underdog drafts later tonight. It'll be a different live stream, though. This live stream, we're just going to be answering all the questions that we have on the site at the moment. Now, CTH525 needs help with the flex. We have a bunch of different options here. I think the number one that stands out will be Breece Hall for us. Breece does have a tougher matchup going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers, so I wouldn't fault you at all with Breece projecting out to be in a committee. If you wanted to go through and if you just wanted to take DJ Moore here. But, I mean, while Breece is going to be in a committee, we know for pretty much fact that he will be the lead back in said committee. Here, Dixon coming through with our next. We're going to go Chuba over Pollard. Both should be bell cow backs or 3-down running backs, but Hubbard's going to be in the better offense week 1. And then for the flex, I think we are probably just going to end up playing the other 3-down running back with the Spears injury. Now, Justice trading Alvin Kamara and RJ Harvey for Josh Jacobs. This is a 10-team, 2-wide receiver, 1 flex format where you could just simply go over and you could just pick up Braylon Allen off the waiver wire. So for me, it's going to be Josh Jacobs, and it's not going to be that close either. Now, jumped. This is DeAndre Swift, Josh Downs versus JCM and Rashee Rice. Rice versus Swift, up to you. JCM versus Downs, up to you. What's the starting lineup early in the season if we make this deal? We have London, we have Evans, we have Igbuka, we have Hunter. Running back, we'd have Bijan. You can't make this deal because our running back 2 would either be JCM or Quinshon Judkins, and we don't have certainty with either player. If you had a better running back 2, I think you could afford to go out there and you could afford to make this deal to just upgrade to Rashee Rice for the long term. But I think you'd be taking on a lot of risk if you were to try to do that now. Okay. Now, Seth, with our next question. Here, our best option on the bench right now is George Pickens. And for me, I would go Pickens over Ricky Pearsall. Let me see what the updated spread is on this Eagles game. Post Micah Parsons trade. Eagles are 7.5-point favorites. Cowboys project to be the 5th lowest scoring offense in the league this week with an implied team total of 20 points, but they should have to throw the ball a bunch. Now, Thanes with the start set. We need 2 running backs. We're going to go Kenneth Walker, and then I'll take DeAndre Swift over Henderson early. I'd rather have Henderson rest of season. But again, I'm a little bit concerned with I don't know. Ramondre's going to get used early. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish we could say that Henderson would be the bell cow from the jump. It would just be so difficult to project that. Now, Banana Blaster says, need help with which wide receivers we're going to start. Worthy's an auto start with no Rice. Again, I was saying early we don't want to be going with Tet week 1 over these wide receivers like Sutton and Metcalf. But post Coker injury, Thielen trade, I wouldn't fault you at all if you wanted to go ahead and if you wanted to make that pivot. And you just play Tet week 1. Can y'all please spam the chat? Who would you play week 1? Tet against the Jags, Metcalf against the Jets, or Sutton against the Titans? Please let me know in the live chat, which side are you going with there? Not which side. Who are you starting? We got Tet, Sutton, DK, Tet, Sutton, DK, Sutton, Tet, Sutton. So it looks like most people are still on the Sutton side of this, which, again, my default always is with the rookies. We don't need to start them week 1. We can see the breakout and then get them in our lineup the week after. Seems like a little bit of a unique scenario, just considering like how good the setup truly is for Tet here and how good of a player he is. But I mean, Sutton's a great player too. We can go with Sutton. Thane's trading. We already answered this, my friend. So I know that we said this a couple times now, but maybe I haven't answered this, but let me give the explanation anyway. I will never miss one of your questions on the site. We go ahead and we answer them in order that they were received. If it is a simple question like this, sometimes we get backed up on roster reviews, and roster reviews have to come separately. But regardless, I'll never miss a question you send. The system that we have is whenever we answer it, the website automatically sends you the answer through the site. It will give you a custom link where you click that link and it will take you to the exact second that I answered your question. So never think that I'm going to miss your question. Never think that you need to send something in twice, because I promise you that I will see it and I will get you that answer. So you don't need to worry about it. Now, looking at this, I believe what my answer was previously, London and Chase Brown, up to you. I have them back to back. Swift and Rashee Rice, up to you. I have them effectively back to back as well. Looking at your team, we'd be starting Brian Thomas, Nico Collins, Devonta Smith as our 3 wide receivers. Running back, we'd have Chase Brown, Kenneth Walker, Trevion. So you can't afford to hold off on the Rashee Rice suspension. So you can go with the Rice and Chase Brown side. Heavy D coming through with our next start set. Okay, I guess you accidentally just put the 3 running backs and we're choosing with these 3 guys. I'm going to go Amari Hampton and Chuba Hubbard. Very rarely do we want to be playing like a rookie running back over somebody like Breece Hall, but it's tough matchup for Breece. If we actually look at the week 1 implied team totals here for the Jets project to be the 2nd worst offense in the league against the Steelers. So I think with Amari Hampton, 3 down running back. Yes, tough matchup against the Chiefs, but they project score about 4 more points according to sportsbooks than what you have with the Jets, at least. Now, Minnesota Vikings fan says 12-team PPR. I'm heavy on the receivers. Addison versus Downs, up to you, and Will Shipley's nothing, and Ramondre Stevenson is something. So we can go ahead and we can take the Ramondre side. Now, Gloomshy with the start set. Here, who we have as the best options on the bench right now would be like Ricky Pearsall. If you have no Juwan Jennings week 1, I think you could pivot from Aaron Jones in that flex spot to Pearsall. But if Jennings plays, I think we leave this as is. Now, Shiesty with the trade. This is Terry and Ladd versus Nico and Igbuka. Give me Terry over Igbuka. Give me Nico over Ladd. I think Nico's in a completely different tier of any of these players, though. So I'm going to go with the best guy. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take Nico Collins. Meaty Jungle says, should we start Pollard or Igbuka? Pollard, brutal matchup, but you get a guaranteed 3-down workload with the Tajay Spears injury. Igbuka, really exciting setup with everybody injured in Tampa, but at the end of the day, we do not need to immediately jam in the wide receiver. We can't afford to wait just a bit. Now, Cruiser says, should I swap one of these running backs for Neighbors? Swap a Warren for Allen. I already have Gibbs and need the receivers. I would not trade CMC for Neighbors, but I would swap. I would swap Achane or Chase Brown for Malik Neighbors. And then I don't see the reason for us to trade Jalen Warren for Braylon Allen, unless you're saying like the team that we're trading with really wants Jalen Warren and that's why they're going to be willing to do this deal. But yeah, if you are wanting to go through and trade like Chase Brown and Jalen Warren for Braylon Allen and Malik Neighbors, I would go ahead and I would take the Malik Neighbors side of this. Okay. Let me refresh, see if we have any simple questions. And if not, we'll go over to the team reviews. And then obviously we'll bounce back and forth between them. So you got Optimus Primer. We need a starting lineup. We're going to go with Kenneth Walker, Kyron as auto starts at running back. Wide receiver, Sutton and Amon-Ra St. Brown will be the auto starts. Tight end, I'm going to go Elijah Arroyo and just send up a prayer that the rookie gets work early. Hilarious that we're rostering both of them. And then down in the 3 flex spots, we're going to go DJ Moore. We're going to go Igbuka. And then for the final spot, we will take Etienne. Etienne's technically the starter in Jacksonville. It is a good matchup. But again, I just don't know what him being the starting running back truly means when Travis Etienne may fall behind Tank Bigsby in touches week 1. We just simply don't know. Now, who dat with the trade? This is Kenneth Walker, Mike Evans versus Brian Thomas. 8-team league. So if it is an 8-team league, even if it is a quote-unquote overpay, it doesn't matter. we can go ahead and we can pull up the waiver wire. And actually, it's pulling, for whatever reason, it's not pulling up the exact waivers. But if this truly is an 8-team league, you go with the Brian Thomas side. If it's a 12-team format, then you'd be a little bit less excited about give up the running back depth. Okay, so let's go ahead, get to some of these team reviews. I know that we have a lot of team reviews to get to, so we are going to try our best to answer as many as possible. I know most people didn't see this, but we are live on the Dynasty channel doing the Dynasty team reviews earlier tonight. And obviously we have a bunch of redraft ones to get to as well. But anyway, this is from Torto at the Door. It says, try to go with an elite quarterback and an elite tight end build with the third pick in a 12-team half PPR league. Thank you for the cheat sheet. Was happy to get Evans to fall to me in the 4th and took a chance with Rice in the 6th, but let me know what you think. Well, my friend, congrats. A start 7 league where we have the elite quarterback and the elite tight end. Start 7 format. The reason you go for them is because we are going to see the wide receiver values fall, and at the same time, the elite quarterback and the elite tight end will make up a very high percentage of our starting lineup output weekly. So when we're sitting here with Daniels and Brock Bowers, we are in a super comfortable position. So absolutely love the team. We are number 1 in the league analyzer, in my opinion, for a pretty strong reason. So obviously we don't need to do anything at quarterback. We don't need to do anything at running back. I'm sorry, at tight end. Running back, we have Barkley. So that's going to be my running back 1 this year, post the offensive line injury in Atlanta. We have Tracy, J.K. Dobbins, Jerome Ford, all of whom will probably be starting running backs week 1. We can't guarantee that that's going to be the case forever, but for week 1, we should be good. And then obviously we can go ahead, and if Scattaboo turns out to be something, then we can make a pivot if need be. If Harvey eventually takes over, we can make a pivot if need be. But for now, I think we are fine. Going over to wide receiver, we have Evans, Metcalf, Rice. The only thing that I don't like about our team is that we have both Rashee Rice and Chris Godwin on the same team. Because when we're sitting with both of these players, it does put us in a position in which it's like, okay, well, early in the year, we're just going to be so far behind when it comes to our depth. And somebody like Darnell Mooney may actually need to hit our lineup, which in a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, we are just not wanting that to be the case. If this was a double flex format, I would be terrified of your draft. I would say we don't have enough skill positional depth. We could be screwed here. But with this being a 2 wide receiver single flex, our starting lineup week 1 is Daniels, Barkley, Tracy, Evans, Metcalf, Bowers, and then we're choosing between Debo, Dobbins, and the flex. I think you are fine to go into the season as is. I think you did a great job optimizing for your format. If we could take Chris Godwin and Debo Samuel and make a 2-for-1 deal to go pivot to a wide receiver that we're really excited to put in the flex spot early in the year, that's going to be, possibly ideal considering the fact that we have the Rashee Rice suspension and Godwin injured at the same time. But it's not going to be something that we need to do. But I really appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And again, clearly you absolutely crushed with the draft sheet. Congrats on the monster team. Now let me go ahead and log out and log in just to make sure that the system where we send the people their answers automatically is working. Okay. Let's move this over. So M. DeFilippo. This is the Task Force 69. We are the 4th team in the league analyzer, and this is a league in which depth matters. This is a 12-team start 8 league. So I actually want to have the production at wide receiver and running back. I want to feel pretty deep at both spots. We can't just abuse this by going with the elite quarterback and the elite tight end. So quarterback, we're pretty weak. We are the 11th team in the league analyzer here with just Baker Mayfield. There are some other quarterbacks on waivers that if they pop early, like Trevor Lawrence, I wouldn't mind picking them up and possibly having a second quarterback to play the matchups with. Because obviously Baker was an absolute every week starter last year, and if Baker repeats what he did a year ago, then you have no concerns whatsoever at QB. But the larger sample size that we have kind of shows that maybe Baker Mayfield should be in play for a little bit of regression. And you also have the multitude of injuries with the wide receivers in Tampa. Going over to what we have at running back, we are currently sitting with Jahmyr Gibbs, Chuba Hubbard, Jordan Mason, Quinshon Judkins, Brian Robinson, and Rico Dowdle. So if we were looking at waiver wire pivots that I'd make, I would for sure drop Rico Dowdle and pick up Byshell Tuten. I just think that Tuten's going to be a running back with a lot more upside. And the issue with Dowdle is he wouldn't be the 1-for-1 replacement. If you did get a Chuba injury, you could potentially see a little bit of Trevor Etienne mixed in as well. Wide receiver, we have London, Ladd, Rome, Reed. Tight end, we have Hawkinson and Cade Otton. So another issue that I have with our team is it seems like, actually, no, never mind. I'm an idiot. No, we have a great team. I was going to say, it seems like we don't have a 3rd round pick, but we went Gibbs round 1, London round 2, Ladd round 3. It's the exact kind of thing we're wanting to do in a league like this. It's a 12-team format with multiple flex spots. Tight end, we have Hawk and Cade Otton. I think I would drop Cade Otton specifically, given the fact that he is dealing with an injury at this point. And we don't know his viability for week 1. And we're never starting him over Hawkinson anyway. So I would drop Cade Otton. I'd pick up Luther Burden. I would drop Rico Dowdle. I'd pick up Byshell Tuten. And if we got a very exciting breakout from one of these quarterbacks on the waiver wire, I'd be quick to drop Luther Burden and pick them up. That way we have a second guy that we could potentially play the matchups with alongside Baker Mayfield. But overall, really like the team. I think you did a good job for your league format specifically. And I don't think that there is that much else that we need to discuss, to be honest with you. I think you got a good spot. Now let's move this over to our next team. It's going to be JDC. This is a sleeper league. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do for you, my friend. Really do appreciate you, and I want to get you the best review that I possibly can. The thing is, I need to make sure that I can see all the waiver wire options, all the teams in your league. And with Sleeper, it's very easy to do that. All you got to do is link your team. It's completely free, and that way when you send in this team again, I can actually see everything. How you do that here is just go to the site, go to the My Teams page, and hit the league/team. It'll bring this up. You hit manage, and then you should be able to add a sleeper league by just copying and pasting the league ID into the a sleeper league box here. You hit submit, then everything will load how you're seeing all the other teams in this live stream. And I'll be able to see everything, including all the other teams in your league, to potentially come up with some trades, all your league settings, and all the waiver wire options. So I'm going to send over a free team review voucher for you so you can resubmit this with that. Because the fact of the matter is, I really do want to get you the best review that I possibly can. And seeing everything's going to make that a lot easier for me. But looks like we just hit 200 likes on the stream. So please go and drop your flockfantasy.com username in the chat. And we'll go ahead and we'll get some of y'all some free vouchers to ask questions. But Hammer Bro says, I think I made some mistakes. So we are the 3rd team in the league analyzer here. Team at 1's absolutely crushing. Options on the waiver wire, there are a few. I'll say the first thing is, obviously, if you have the IR slot And I would very much encourage you to drop Luther Burden, pick up Ayuk, move Ayuk over to your IR. I guess maybe we already have Mixon in the IR slot, so maybe that's not possible. In terms of other waiver wire moves that we would look to make in that case, I think Byshell Tune's a better running back than Dylan Sampson, but obviously Tune actually has running backs ahead of him on the depth chart. Dylan Sampson could potentially be a starting running back week 1. So I'm not going to tell you to go out there, and I'm not going to tell you to drop Dylan Sampson for Byshell Tune. So in terms of waiver wire moves, I think that you're completely fine, to be honest. With this starting lineup, it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So we are highly incentivized to kind of ignore wide receiver depth and build around the elite quarterbacks and the elite tight ends. We have an elite tight end with George Kittle. Obviously, super excited about that. Going over and looking at what we have with the wide receivers, I think we did mess up. We drafted too many wide receivers, and we got to do what we can to try to move over and bring in some, bring in some wide receivers bring in an elite quarterback. Because like right now, the issue with this team is we have Achane Chase Brown at running back. We have Jefferson Ted at wide receiver. Then every single week, we're going to have to be choosing between Caleb Johnson, Calvin Ridley, Roma Dunze, Ricky Pearsall, Luther Burden for our flex spot. And then obviously we have the outside chance that you end up getting a breakout from like Mixon, from Bigsby, from Braylon Allen, from Dylan Sampson. And then all of a sudden we just have additional depth. Like, so we are overloaded with depth, and that's assuming that none of our late round bench stashes work out. So I think you can afford to go out of your way and get yourself an elite level quarterback. How I'm going to do that is I'm going to try to trade Tet McMillan and Bo Nix. Tet McMillan obviously is steaming up with value right now, as he frankly should be, considering the fact that everybody is currently either injured or traded out of Carolina. So if we could trade Tet and Bo Nix and go get somebody like Josh Allen, go get somebody like Lamar Jackson, obviously those would be the no-brainers, but I would also even do it for, I would do it for Daniels and I would do it for Hurts. I would love to like try to come up with some different options for us and going like, oh, I guess we can trade Calvin Ridley and Bo Nix for a slight upgrade at quarterback. But the fact of the matter is the only quarterbacks that will be a significant upgrade and will actually move the needle from us from Bo Nix will be the top 4. Allen, Lamar, Daniels, Hurts. So I don't know if I can tell you, or I don't know if it's worth me telling you, yeah, let's go through and let's make a trade for anybody but those names. And nobody's going to give you those top 4 names if we were to sell any wide receiver not named Tet McMillan on this team. And running back, we don't have as much depth as we do at wide receiver. So I think the team you drafted is good. I think you have a lot of value on the team. I don't think you make any waiver wire moves. I think the only play is to potentially try to get yourself the elite quarterback given the league settings, given the wide receiver depth. We try to take a receiver like Tet McMillan and Bo Nix, and we try to go get that elite guy. But I hope I was able to help you out here, my friend. And let's pick somebody random in the chat real quick to give that free voucher to. We got Born to Nullify. Let me see if I can find you on our users page. Okay. Born to Nullify. All right. I found you, my friends. And we just sent you over those free trades and free start set question vouchers. So if you have anything, I'd be happy to take a look at it for you. Now let's move this over to our next team. It's going to be C. Buffett, longtime member of the flock. Let me hook you up with some free questions. My friend says, big money league, any moves we should make, any issues with the team? Thanks, Mason. Thank you. So while this is a 10-team league, and we would typically say with a 10-team format, oh, depth's not going to matter much. Let's go get the elite quarterback. Let's go get the elite tight end. This is a start 9 format. So you can actually get a bunch of wide receivers. You can get a bunch of running backs into the starting lineup. And with that in mind, I don't think it's as simple as us just saying, let's go get the elite quarterback. Let's go get the elite tight end. You have to have a well-balanced team in this league specifically. Now, going over and looking at what we have with our team in the league analyzer, we are currently 7th, which you don't love to see. There are quality quarterbacks on waivers. So if we wanted to stream, that is going to be a possibility for us. Looking at what we have at running back, we are currently sitting with Derrick Henry, Chase Brown, Isaiah Pacheco. We have Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt as well. So running back's really strong, right? Running back's going to be the positional strength that we have on this team, maybe outside of tight end. But we are 4th in the league analyzer at running back currently. Going over to what we have at wide receiver, we have Mike Evans. We have Devontae Adams, Rashee Rice, Egbuka, Ricky Pearsall, Jaden Higgins. And again, the wide receiver depth's going to matter in this league because if it's a start 9 format, we're starting a combined 7 running backs and receivers. So if we're starting a combined 7 running backs and receivers, we would say, okay, well, we're going to be starting Derrick Henry, Chase Brown. And then after that, we will have Mike Evans, Devontae Adams in at wide receiver. And then for the flexes, we need 3 more. We go Pacheco, Egbuka, Ricky Pearsall early. And then we get Rashee Rice in late. So if we're looking at like the options that are actually on our bench early in the year, there aren't many. Like the quote unquote exciting names that you have on the bench, I guess it's really just Jaden Higgins. And I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend like Jaden Higgins is the most exciting player in the world. So I don't think you have the expendable depth to try to upgrade at quarterback in this league. Like I was just assuming from the jump based off it being a start 9 format. Maybe if you get Rashee Rice in here, then all of a sudden we'll have a little more depth where you could go ahead and you could try to make a move like that. But without Rashee Rice, it's just not going to be possible for us. We go ahead and we look at what we have with the waiver wire options. I do think that there are some small pivots that I'd make on waivers. So I like David Njoku as well, especially with Flacco starting. But the fact of the matter is there's no world in which you are ever going to be starting David Njoku instead of Trey McBride. And in a 10-team league, the reason I don't think you would ever be able to sell David Njoku for like a considerable upgrade elsewhere is just look at what is available to us on the waiver wire at tight end. Like if a league mate really needed a tight end, would they go out there and pay you a significant amount for David Njoku? Or would they instead just go ahead and pick up Tucker Kraft for free? They would probably just pick up Tucker Kraft for free. So I would drop David Njoku. I would drop Isaac Tesla as well. I understand that Tesla had a phenomenal preseason. And at the same time, the Detroit Lions are trading away wide receiver depth to potentially have Isaac Tesla with a role early. But I just don't know if you could ever predict when to get Isaac Tesla in your starting lineup. I think he's a little bit more of like a play for a best ball league. So what I would probably look to do instead is if we could potentially just drop David Njoku, drop Isaac Tesla, go over to the waiver wire and pick up Trey Benson, Nick Chubb for free, or Trey Benson, Jerome Ford, whoever you prefer. I think that would be the main thing that I'm looking at with this team. I think structurally it makes a ton of sense with the way that you've built it. And honestly, I think if we were to make that pivot where we pick up those running backs for free off the waiver wire, it probably pushes us higher in the league analyzer as well. So the main thing I'm going to do here again, my friend, I think you don't make any trades. We can't afford it with the Rashee Rice suspension with the depth required in this league. Just drop Tesla, drop David Njoku, pick up Trey Benson and Nick Chubb. But let's move this over to A-Way. It says, was able to put Brains and Ayuk on the IR, but we can't replace his bench spot yet. My running back situation's questionable. I've tried to get Bowers and Warren, but the owner isn't budging. What should we try to trade for? So we are big Knicks energy. We are currently the third spot in the league analyzer. This is a 12-team start 8 format. So the depth here is going to matter a decent amount. And taking a sneak peek at the waiver wire, I actually think that it's very easy who we're going to add whenever we can add someone from us moving Brains and Ayuk to the IR. The easy ad's just going to be we go ahead and we pick up Ramondre Stevenson for free. Like, to be completely honest with you, I think that there's even a world in which I would go through and I would drop like Tyler Algier for Ramondre if we could make that move right now and just guarantee that we get Ramondre Stevenson in here. Because while I am 100% team Trevion Henderson, and I'm expecting that Trevion Henderson absolutely smashes, it's not a 100% guarantee that Ramondre Stevenson's not the starting running back at the beginning of the season. I would hate it if that is the case. I would hate if Ramondre did get enough work to be like a viable running back. But even the worst case scenario, he kind of turns into a committee RB, right? Now, going over and looking at what we have with our own team, we have Bo Nix and JJ McCarthy at quarterback, which, looking at what's available to us on the waiver wire, I'm fine with us rostering 2 QBs. Like, Bo Nix is really exciting. We're probably playing him over McCarthy most weeks, but it's not going to be a guarantee, right? There's an outside chance that McCarthy absolutely smashes. Bo Nix starts off a little bit slow, and then you see yourself in week 3 putting McCarthy in your lineup. Going over to running back, we have Ashton Jeanty, Amari and Hampton. So 2 of the very few running backs that we could feel just perfectly fine with playing from the very jump. Like, we could just very easily get them in. We have Tracy as depth. I'm just trying to look ahead. What is there to do? We have Neighbors. We have Higgins. We have Tet. We have Pickens. We have Reed. We have Ayuk. So again, like, this is like the perfect example of if this was a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. It's like, oh, you have all these skill positional depth pieces at running back and wide receiver. There's no way that we end up needing all these guys. Let's try to parlay some of the bench value into a starting lineup improvement. But here, it's a 12-team start 8 league. Like, we're starting 6 running backs / wide receivers weekly. So like week 1, we're starting Jeanty, Hampton, Neighbors, Higgins, Tet, Pickens, and like the only startable player on our bench is like Tyrone Tracy. So it's not like we have a bunch of additional value that we could go through and we could just kind of sell for nothing. I'm not sell for nothing, but sell for a quarterback upgrade that we're fine overpaying with. We're not fine trading Tet McMillan and a Bo Nix on this team to go get Jaden Daniels. Like, we need the wide receiver depth. We need the running back depth on a team like this. So I think for your league settings, you've done a phenomenal job with this team. For your league settings specifically, I don't know what else I potentially would be looking to do. Looking at the waiver wire again, I think our number 1 pickup's Ramondre Stevenson. I would also rather, like, let's say we pick up Ramondre because we were able to open the roster spot by moving Brains and Ayuk to the IR. I would also probably still cut Tyler Algier anyway, because again, right now you just do simply have the Atlanta Falcons projecting out a much worse than what they did previously, considering the offensive line injury with the right tackle going down. So I think I would go ahead. I would cut Tyler Algier. I would pick up Brian Robinson, because if we just go through the thought process of if McCaffrey were to get injured and Bijan Robinson were to both get injured as well, who would I put higher in my weekly rankings? Would I put Brian Robinson or Tyler Algier? I'd probably put Brian Robinson. So I'd cut Algier. I'll pick up Brian Robinson. With the other open roster spot, we'll pick up Ramondre Stevenson. Wide receiver, tight end, I don't think we make any moves, and I don't think we do anything at with the trade. I think the roster is completely fine as is, my friend. But let's move this over to Teresa. If y'all don't know, Teresa's always out in the chat, and probably, I don't want to say this for sure, maybe the number one moderator of the chat. Really appreciate her, and it's been with us for years. And excited to check out your team. Let me load you up with a bunch of free questions. That way, I know you'll be in the streams with us a bunch this season. That way you have a bunch of stuff you can send in. But we got Mama T, your 7th spot in the league analyzer. Looks a little shaky. This is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, single flex. So again, with these league settings specifically, wide receiver depth's not going to be nearly as crucial. And we would try to optimize by getting the elite quarterback, by getting the elite tight ends. Looking at what we have here, we have at quarterback Jaden Daniels. So we do have the elite level option, which I'm excited about. Tight end, we have Loveland. So in terms of waiver wire moves, I think that there are a bunch of simple things that we can do to raise our team with the league analyzer, to be honest, especially now that Jalen Coker hits the IR. There are multiple wide receiver pivots I would make. I would cut Marvin Mims and I would cut Jalen Coker. Obviously, if you can now move Jalen Coker to the IR where he doesn't take up a roster spot, then cool, we'll do that. But kind of regardless, we are going to get 2 open pickups, whether that's with us cutting Coker or whether that's with us just getting him on the IR and us opening a roster spot that way. But we will be picking up Jaden Higgins and Darnell Mooney off of waivers with the open spots by cutting Mims and then moving Coker to IR/cutting him. I think that will move us up the league analyzer. Also going over and looking at running back, I would consider dropping Ray Davis for Rachaad White. We have seen Rachaad White be a running back 1 in fantasy before. So like realistically, that's still in the range of outcomes if we were to get an injury to Bucky Irving. Obviously, we would need that injury to Bucky, but you can say the same thing with Ray Davis. You would need the injury to James Cook. There's no world in which Ray Davis is ever starting over James Cook here. So I would drop Ray Davis. I would drop Marvin Mims. I would drop Jalen Coker. I'd pick up Rachaad White. I would pick up Jaden Higgins, and I'd pick up Darnell Mooney. And then from there, what I'm going to be trying to do is we're going to be doing anything we can to upgrade the tight end position. Specifically by selling a wide receiver with that tight end to go ahead and try to move to a top end range. Like if we could try to sell Garrett Wilson and Loveland to go and get George Kittle, I would love it. Now there's no way in hell that we're able to sell Garrett Wilson and Loveland to get to Trey McBride or Bowers. But if that would be a possibility, obviously I'd love that as well. Just much, much easier said than done. And it's probably not going to happen. Now, in terms of other trades that we could potentially try to make, if the elite tight end's going to be off the table for us, if the team with Kittle isn't interested, then the other pivot that we probably look at would be simply just going through and trying to do 2-for-1 wide receiver tier ups, where we try to sell Zay Flowers and Garrett Wilson together, and we try to go get Vlad McConkey on the same squad. Because again, especially when we pick up Jaden Higgins and Darnell Mooney here for free, you're just going to have a tremendous amount of wide receiver depth. So I think plan A is to go and make that trade for the elite level tight ends. And then plan B will be for us to go through and for us to just make a simple 2-for-1 wide receiver tier upgrade. But I think that's all I got for you. Again, I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this stream. And yeah, thank you for always hanging out with us, Teresa. And I sent you over a bunch of those free vouchers to ask questions through the entire year. But let's move this over to Halo Tactic. It says, Efton Chisholm is my Roman Empire. Brock Bowers was a keeper in the 6th round, drafted from the 111. What are your thoughts? So we are the family jewels here. So as soon as you told me we got to keep Brock Bowers in the 11th round in a league in which you only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex, you kind of immediately know this is going to be the best team in the league. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. I don't want to build too much around wide receiver depth. I want the elite tight end. I want the elite quarterback. Look at our team. We have the elite QB. We have the elite tight end. We have Nico Collins, Brian Thomas. This is exactly what you would want. Running back's not great. I would like to roster more running backs if we could, and hopefully one of these guys ends up breaking out. One of these guys ends up doing something. But in terms of waiver wire pivots, I'm assuming Tajay Spears is on the IR. If Spears isn't on the IR and he's taking up an active roster spot, I would go ahead and I would more likely than not just drop Spears, pick up Ray Davis, but he's probably on your IR, right? So you're not able to do that. Wide receiver, I would drop Romeo Doubs and I'd pick up Jaden Reed. It's not like you're starting either guy anyway. So even if you have the Jaden Reed injured to start the year, he's not going to be in your lineup regardless. So this is a phenomenal team. Running back's your weak point. The only thing that I would do is stay active on the waiver wire. Try to find a running back from there. But you're allowed to be weak at running back if we have the best wide receiver room in the league, the best tight end room in the league, and the best quarterback room in the league. But really appreciate you, my friend. And I wish I had more to say other than just the simple drop Dobbs for Reed, but really that's all you got to do. Now let's move this over for RJ. Really appreciate you here. Let me hook you up with some free questions to ask through the season. Saying, hey Mason, I kind of punted running back on accident. I had a lot of wide receiver value fall to me. Also a little worried about tight end. Any help would be appreciated. Thanks. Thank you. We are number 1 in the league analyzer. And the main thing that I need to point out is this is an 8-team format. So with this being an 8-team league, we are highly incentivized to ignore wide receiver depth and just go through and build around the elite quarterback, the elite tight end, and the elite running backs. Wide receiver is going to be so easy to come by. And if we look at the waiver wire, you can see this as well. We have Ricky Pearsall, Chris Olave, Josh Downs, Jordan Addison, all out there on waivers in the 8-team league. You know what this tells me? It tells me go out there and overpay for an elite tight end. Take T. Higgins and Mark Andrews, offer it for Bowers. Take T. Higgins and Andrews, offer it for McBride. Both of those are probably going to get rejected, but hell, go take T. Higgins and Mark Andrews, offer them for Kittle. Do the same thing with Mike Evans. We have the elite quarterback with Lamar, so we really do like to see that. But what the hell is there to talk about with this team? Other than you have the best team in the league. We can see it with the league analyzer. We have the elite quarterback. I would like to roster some like running backs. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. So when we're sitting here with the total of like 8 wide receivers on our team and only 3 running backs, it's like, how I don't want this many receivers, but at the same time, like our waiver wire running back options are Travis Etienne and Charbonnet. Don't get me wrong, but I'm not cutting Jamison Williams or Cortland Sutton for them. So plan A, we take Higgins, parlay him with Andrews, get to the best tight end you possibly can. Plan B, and honestly, it shouldn't be a plan A and B because you're doing both of them. It's step 1, then step 2. You're going to do step 2 regardless if step 1 works. Is 2-for-1 deals. Who cares? Upgrade any way that we can. T. Higgins and Devonta Smith, give me A.J. Brown. Mike Evans and Cortland Sutton, give me Ladd McConkey. Even if these are just marginal upgrades, we're like, I can pull this up into the trade calculator on the site, right? And this is a really good thing for you to leverage. And let me show you exactly how you should exploit it in your league, my guy. But let's say that example I just gave you. T. Higgins and Devonta Smith. I know, I'm sorry, I had the trade calculator set on Dynasty, so I'm going to have to change this over to redraft real quick. I was wondering, like, why is T. Higgins ranked so low? This is a Dynasty Superflex League. But let's look at T. Higgins and, say, Devonta Smith And let's compare this to A.J. Brown. Right? We go ahead, we put this into the trade calculator. It says you lose. And maybe I would agree that you lose this deal if it's like a 12-team league with multiple flex. However, you know what you get for free? You get to pick up Ricky Pearsall for free. So what happens if we throw Ricky Pearsall on the other side of this? All of a sudden, it's a fair trade. So it may seem silly, and in a 12-team league, you would not make those style trades. I would never suggest somebody in like a 12-team format to do that. But here in an 8-team league where Ricky Pearsall and Chris Olave are on the waiver wire, you can afford to go out there and you can afford to just do anything you can with the 2-for-1 wide receiver upgrades for the purpose of just opening a roster spot and having the cheat code of just picking up an exciting player off waivers. So I would go ahead and I would do that, my friend. Obviously, shoot for a higher ceiling wide receiver, but I'm just assuming that like the Jefferson range, the Brian Thomases of the world, they're going to be untouchable. You can try though. Now the playoff Grinch coming through says, man, I feel like I'm heavy at running back and I have no clue who I should flex and sit Pearsall what to do. So we are the Slick Rick season. We are the 4th team in the league analyzer. It's a league in which, so this happens sometimes. I'll say this is the first time it's happened like all week, but I'm assuming here that one of your league mates, like they haven't been assigned to one of these teams. So the waiver wire is actually pulling in their roster rather than the actual waiver wire options. So we're not really going to be able to use the waiver wire here, to be honest with you. But this is a start 8 format. We have Josh Allen at quarterback and George Kittle at tight end. So we have the elite QB, the elite tight end. Don't need a roster of backup at either position. Derrick Henry, solid RB1. Kenneth Walker, solid RB2. Tony Pollard, great RB3. Javonte, great RB4. Wide receiver, we have London, great wide receiver 1. Higgins, great wide receiver 2. DJ Moore, great wide receiver 3. Ricky Pearsall, great wide receiver 4. And again, the wide receiver and running back depth here matters because you have to start a combined 6 running backs receivers every single week. And that's what we are prioritizing our build around, where we're not rostering the backup quarterback. We're not rostering the backup tight end. So I think this is perfect. I know you're saying you have no idea what we're going to be doing with the starting lineup. I would say early in the year, obviously, Derrick Henry, Kenneth Walker, Drake London, T. Higgins. Those are your auto starts at running back and receiver. I would say early in the year, we're going to be starting DJ Moore, Tony Pollard, and benching Ricky Pearsall, Jaden Reed, Javonte Williams. Like, that's how I'd submit it week 1, but obviously we'd stay a little bit flexible. And then all your players down there, I mean, obviously the wire is not working. If Tyreek was actually on a roster, I would tell you to go and pick up Tyreek. But I think you have a great team. I think you start Pollard in that flex spot early on with no Spears. And then when Spears comes back, you're probably going to be leaning on Ricky Pearsall over Tony Pollard. And Pollard will probably just kind of turn into a running back depth piece for us. That's really important. But I really appreciate you, and I wish I had more to say with your team, but I think you honestly just kind of crushed your draft. Now, Jim says, should I hold steady or try to improve at running back? We are the number 1 team in the league, and this is beautiful. The second that I pull this up, it's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex. So what I want to avoid is I want to avoid seeing a team roster 8 wide receivers, right? And here we're only rostering 5. We have Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas. We can only start 2 wide receivers and 1 flex. So any wide receiver beyond those guys would only be an injury insurance. So to be honest with you, in your league settings, with us having the number 1 wide receiver room in this league, and it's not even remotely close, with us somehow managing to have Chase Neighbors and Brian Thomas all on the same team, I am selling Chris Olave. I am selling Jordan Addison for anything that I could get, which I know seems silly where it's like, oh, okay, do I really only want to roster 3 wide receivers? No, we don't want to only roster 3 wide receivers. Obviously, we want to have more. But the thing will be, look at the waiver wire. We should be able to pick up Keon Coleman for free. We should be able to pick up Jaden Higgins for free. We should be able to pick up Darnell Mooney for free. If our top receivers are Chase Neighbors, Brian Thomas, I'm completely fine if Keon Coleman's my wide receiver 4, right? So yes, I think you should look to upgrade either at running back or you should look to upgrade at tight ends. I would honestly kind of be fine with either or. Now, going ahead and looking at what we have with potential trades, the difficult part of this is going to be finding somebody that's excited about trading for Jordan Addison early. Like realistically, when Jordan Addison is suspended, I don't think you're going to be able to get anyone interested in him. Like there's nobody running out there to send offers for Jordan Addison in a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league at this point. I'm not saying it's never going to happen. If Jordan Addison comes back and he has himself a good game, then at that point we can throw Addison on the block. But I think for the time being, you're just going to go ahead and you're just going to take Chris Olave, package him with Pollard, take Chris Olave, package him with Kamara, and try to get the best running back you can. Looking at what we have with our waiver wire options at running back, we have Javonte out there. So for me, I think I would very clearly drop Kyle Pitts and go ahead and pick up Javonte Williams. Especially as we look at tight end and there are other available tight ends on waiver wires that we could pivot to that are like similar to Pitts, such as Jonnu, Brenton Strange, if need be. So I'm trying to think like, would there be any other potential trades? I don't think so. I really like the team, and I think you just kind of go through, sell Olave with a running back, get the best running back you can, drop Pitts, pick up Javonte, and then also you should have another open roster spot from that point where I'd probably pick up Keon Coleman to backfill your loss of Chris Olave. But I think that's all I got for you. Really appreciate you, and congrats on having the number 1 team in your league, my guy. Now, Tan's coming through with our next team. Says, my wife joined my league. I am Flight Tans. Can you rank hers and maybe mine if that works? Okay, so Burrow had a Kittle Lamb. Yes, sir. I'll take a look at both of these teams. Let me expand both of them real quick. It'd be funny if we could find a clear trade that would make sense for both of y'all. So your wife drafted a better team than you, in my opinion, in terms of raw value, or at least that's what the league analyzer has. So the Burrow had a Little Lambs team. We have this as a league where you can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. This is a start 8 format. So the depth is going to matter a decent amount here. It's not completely meaningless. We go ahead and we look at the quarterback room here with Burrow. Completely fine. Don't need to roster another. Quarterbacks on the waiver wire are extremely thin. If you really wanted to pick up Lawrence just in case Burrow got injured, it's not the end of the world with this league, but definitely not something that you need to do. Going over to the running back room with Chase Brown, Kyron Williams, Jalen Warren, Tank Bigsby, Byshell, Tootin. Not making any waiver wire pivots here. We have the quality RB1s at the top. We have depth down below. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, Jameson, Waddle, Golden, Downs. So we have quality wide receiver production at the top and depth down below, which again, the depth's going to matter here because it's a 12-team league where we can get 4 wide receivers in our lineup weekly. Going over to tight end, we have Kittle and Hunter Henry. So the only thing that I would say is here in a league where you can start 4 receivers, if we have George Kittle, there's no world in which we're ever playing Hunter Henry over him. And based off what we just got with the Jalen Coker injury, with Adam Thielen also getting traded, I would go ahead and I would probably cut Hunter Henry and pick up Xavier Legette if I were your wife. Looking at your team, you definitely should be rostering 2 quarterbacks. Running back, we went a little bit later because we hammered the wide receivers early. We have 4 wide receivers we feel comfortable with. So we're rostering as many running backs as we possibly can, which I really like. So overall, I actually don't think that either team really needs to make a trade. I thought it would have been fun if we could try to find something that would work for both teams, like trade with each other. But sadly, I don't think there's like a clear thing there. I think both y'all have solid, well-constructed teams. The only thing I would do is with the wife's team, I'd cut Hunter Henry and I'd pick up Legette. And honestly, with your team, I think we sit on our hands and hope one of the bench running backs turns out to be something. It's probably what's going to take for you to win your league is one of the bench running backs is going to have to be relevant. But appreciate you and hope I was able to help one of y'all out at least. Now, I'm going to mark this as complete and let's move over and answer some of the quick questions. So the first quick question is going to come out from Dre. It's a start set where we have Bucky Irving is an auto start over Pollard for sure. Xavier Worthy is an auto start with no Rashee Rice. I think down in the flex full PPR format, you probably go ahead and take Cortland Sutton. Wouldn't fault you at all if you wanted to play Tony Pollard though with no Spears. Now, Andrew coming through quarterback. We're starting Allen. Running back, Hampton is the auto start. And down in the flex spot, if we were to get somebody in, it would be Chris Olave or Rome Odunze. But I'm not starting either receiver over Chase, Wilson, Pickens, Smith. So we're going to leave that as is. Now, Dason Tater coming through with our next question. The best potential flex play that we could have to get in week 1, I guess you would say, is Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt, unless you were to get Devon Achane missing week 1. And then at that point, you could potentially pivot over to Ollie Gordon. But right now, as reports are saying Achane's good to go, I think we're going to leave the lineup as is. Now, Time Space says 12-team full PPR, don't know who to start in the flex. I'm going to assume that we're not actually starting 5 wide receivers in this league, and you meant to just kind of include these as bench options. So if we needed to start 2 receivers, 1 flex, we're going to be starting JSN, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan. If we needed a total of 4 of these players, we go JSN, T. Higgins, Tet McMillan, George Pickens. I am higher on Tet McMillan now for week 1 than I was last night because of the Coker injury. Mr. Runner coming through. If we were going to make a pivot, it would be Cooper Kupp here to get into the flex spot, which I think the world where you would consider that would be if you have Downs' hamstring injury rolling into week 1. So if Downs misses week 1, then at that point, yeah, we can go ahead. We can consider playing Kupp, but it's probably what you would need to happen is you need to have no Downs. But if not, leave it as is. Now, Thick Boy, this is Jaden Higgins, Garrett Wilson for T. Higgins. So I was going to jump on the Higgins side immediately the second I saw this, because I think 99% of leagues, yes, you want the T. Higgins side here, and I don't even know if it's remotely close. Now, the issue with that is it's a 14-team start 8 league. So you make this trade, your starting lineup is Brian Thomas, T. Higgins, Genty, Dobbins, Hurts, Kelsey, and then you're choosing 2 flex spots between Harvey, Tootin, Debo. Like, I hate to say it, I do think that there's a pretty big gap between Higgins and Garrett Wilson. And I think for 99% of leagues and 99% of people, you want the T. Higgins side of this. But here in a 14-team start 8 format, I actually think that the Jaden Higgins profile could make a difference for you. Now, Steeler Buzz coming through with our next question. It says, Mason, I traded Saquon for Jacobs and Scary Terry. Needed wide receiver depth. What do you think? I love me some Josh Jacobs. I traded for Josh Jacobs in my own league. Obviously, Scary Terry signing is nice. But in 99% of leagues, I would say you would rather have Saquon Barkley over Josh Jacobs and Scary Terry. The only scenario in which I think it makes sense for you to make this deal is if there are 14 or more teams in your league and you start 8 or more players at the same time. Where there, the waiver wire is just going to be completely barren and the depth is going to be incredibly important. But if you're in like a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league, this would be an all-time fumble and Saquon Barkley would run away with it, to be honest with you. Which obviously pains me to say. I'd rather just say you won the deal, but I'm not going to lie, to be honest. I want to be honest. Okay, let's move this back over and get to some more of the team reviews. This next one going to be coming out from Chef. Says, running back started early and kept going. Played the board and got my guys, but it hurts to take a look at my running back room. So the thing is here, well, first let me hook you up with some free questions. But the thing is, your league, we can start up to 4 wide receivers weekly. So with us being able to start 4 wide receivers weekly, the running back 2 spot is not going to make up as high of a percentage of our starting lineup output. And as long as we are crushing at our wide receiver slots and crushing at the flex, we can get away with this. Now, looking at quarterback, we have Baker Mayfield. If he were to repeat what he did last season, obviously you're pumped, but by no means is that a guarantee. Now, going through and looking at what we have at running back, we have Trevion Henderson, Cam Scatterbo, Joe Mixon, Braylon Allen, Nick Chubb, Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson. So clearly this is the weakest position on the team. We are ranked 9th in the league analyzer here at running back. And if there was going to be a position where we needed to load up on as many players as we possibly could, it would be this one. Because while I'm sitting here and going, week 1, man, you're in trouble. Week 1, you're starting Trevion Henderson and Nick Chubb. This could be an okay position if you hit on one of these guys. If we were to get a Breece Hall trade, a Breece Hall injury, then all of a sudden your running back room's completely fine, as Braylon Allen's a must-start player every single week. We look at Nick Chubb, Joe Mixon. Hell, if Joe Mixon ends up coming back, maybe running back solves itself. We look at Jerome Ford, Dylan Sampson. If we don't get Judkins this year, maybe we actually have a starter. So running back is extremely weak on paper. Don't get me wrong. But you have outs for it to be serviceable. Wide receiver, we have Lamb, London, Tet, Ridley. And the thing is, I don't think you can afford to sell one of the receivers because you're pretty much starting 4 wide receivers here guaranteed every week. So if you go through and you sell Tet McMillan for a running back, then all of a sudden we just have an issue in the flex spot instead of having an issue at running back. So if you were to make a pivot here, let's look at the tight ends available on the waiver wire. Tight ends, you have like Britton Strange, Jonnu Smith on waivers. If you felt comfortable playing the waiver wire at tight ends, this wouldn't be the worst league to go through and sell Bowers for Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving. Again, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. There, I kind of opt to just take the elite tight end because the running back wide receiver depth's not going to matter as much. But here, the depth does matter. We don't have the certainty at running back. So if you wanted to make that simple swap from Bowers to one of those RBs, I think you would. However, if you have to go down to the tier of like Kyron Williams, Amari Hampton, Breece Hall, James Cook, I'm not going to do it. So the only trade is Bowers. Obviously, you can get up to Derrick Henry. If you can get up to Ashton Genty, Devon Achane, we 100% jump on that. But I'd imagine those owners probably reject. And if you were worried enough about your running back position, you try to swap Bowers for Chase Brown and whatever bum tight end the other guy has, like Dallas Goedert. But I think that's all I got for you with this, my friend. I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way. And I don't think you should feel that bad about the team, to be honest. Because, again, you have some outs for those running backs on the bench to turn into something. Now, MLB pitcher, if y'all don't know, he has been a long time member of the flock. Let me go ahead and hook you up with some free questions, my friend says. Hey, man, let me know what you think. Took Bijan with the 3rd overall pick, and with the keepers, there was nothing valuable between rounds 2 through 4. So I took Lamar in the 2nd being the best value, which here in a 2-player keeper league, getting Lamar in the 2nd is definitely a strong thing. Took 5 receivers straight. Oh, this is a great team. So obviously with this being a keeper league, you are naturally going to see the unbalance right out the gate with the league analyzer, because some people are just going to simply have much better keepers than others and be able to draft a team that would not be possible in a regular redraft league. And I think that's our squad here. Because in a regular draft, you should not be able to combine the 5 players of Lamar Jackson, Bijan Robinson, Devon Achane, Mike Evans, George Kittle. Even in the 10-team league, where obviously we would expect 10-team leagues to just naturally be stronger. So right out the gate, I think it's worth pointing out that in a regular redraft league, you would not have been able to draft this team. I think you are sitting really pretty. Now, it's a league in which we can start up to 4 receivers weekly, so the wide receiver depth does matter a bit more here. We have the elite quarterback with Lamar Jackson. We have Lawrence. I understand Lamar has an early-ish bye week 7, but fact of the matter is you really don't need a second quarterback if we have Lamar. If you want to just kind of sit on your hands here, I would be fine. Like if we wanted to drop Lawrence, however, for Najee Harris, if you view Najee as a premium handcuff back at this point, I think that would be something I'd consider. Going over to running back, we have Bijan Achane, so we have the 2 anchor RBs at the top. The depth below maybe isn't the best. We have Judkins, we have Braylon, we have Brian Robinson, we have Spears. So we have upside shots. We just don't have anybody that we could play if we needed to. Going over to receiver, we're going to need wide receivers that we can put into the flexes, right? Because we don't have the running back depth to put into the flexes. We have Evans, Hunter, Flowers, Diggs, Reed, Kupp, Luther Burden. So a wide receiver, we're actually strong enough. Going over to tight end, we have Kittle and Zach Ertz. So my note on tight end would be very similar to what we would say with the elite quarterback. We have the elite tight end, so we don't need a roster, a backup. Overall, I really like your team. I just think that the simple moves that we need to make is we need to give ourselves more outs at finding a running back that becomes viable. And how you give yourself those outs is we drop the backup quarterback, we drop the backup tight ends, we go ahead and we just pick up a couple additional running backs that we'll get some information on very early week 1. Possibly we churn them for different running backs with the waiver wire. Possibly we churn them for different wide receivers. But like, what's going to happen week 1 to turn Zach Ertz into a league-winning player for you? Nothing. It can't happen. So I would cut Zach Ertz, and instead I would go through and I'd pick up Najee Harris. I would cut Trevor Lawrence. I would go ahead and I'd pick up Miles Sanders. I would see what these players, their overall roles look like early in the season. And then possibly if Miles Sanders is getting outplayed by Jaden Blue, you just immediately drop him and you move on to the next guy. But I think you need to give yourself more outs to find a running back 3 with this team. We already have plenty. We have the hammers, so we don't need to panic and trade for anybody. I think we just need to have potentially a little more depth here. So Simple waiver wire moves, drop the backup quarterback, drop the backup tight end, pick up the running backs. And honestly, I don't think you need to make any trades with your team. I think you have a phenomenal squad. But just in case, I did hook you up with those free vouchers. So again, I'd be happy to check anything out for you if you wanted to send something my way. Now let's move this over to Drew Buckets. Has been a longtime flock member. I want to know what your thoughts on the team are. It's a tight end premium, so I had to shoot for the high upside with Pitts, but I think I crushed my wide receiver room with the second pick of the draft. First thing is, this is a wild ass name. Second thing is, tight end premium format. I don't know how we're shooting for the upside with Pitts, to be honest with you. Tight end premium format. Here we are sitting with one of the worst tight end rooms in this league. And the tight ends on the waiver wire are extremely weak. So it's not like I can tell you like, oh, let's go ahead and let's drop Marvin Mims. Let's pick up Elijah Arroyo and give ourselves another out at the tight end position. Looking at what we have at quarterback, we have Kyler and we have Caleb. So we can simply just play the matchups here, right? No problem. Running back, we have Trevion, James Conner, Jordan Mason. This would be a garbage team. Your team would be horrendous if you only started 2 wide receivers, 1 flex. But this is a start 9 league. So like what a typical start 9 league is, it's like you start 3 wide receivers and 2 flex spots. And it's a full PPR format. So that means wide receiver 1, we have Jamar Chase. So we're beating the rest of the league at wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 2, we are beating the rest of the league at wide receiver 2. With AJ Brown. Wide receiver 3, we have Ladd McConkey. We are beating the rest of the league at wide receiver 3. In our first flex, we have Igbuka. We are beating the rest of the league. In our second flex, we have Rome Odunze. We are beating the rest of the league. So you have a lot of leeway. Because if it was a 2 wide receiver 1 flex where it's a tight end premium format, we're getting Kyle Pitts in the lineup. We're getting freaking James Conner in the lineup. Trevion's our RB1. It's garbage. Why the hell are we rostering like Igbuka, Rome down there on the bench? We need to convert this over to tight end points. But all those wide receivers are in our lineup. So you go through and you trade Rome and Kyle Pitts to get a tight end upgrade. It's like, cool, we upgraded tight ends. But all of a sudden, now we need help with a flex. So again, I think for a lot of leagues, your team would be really bad, but yours specifically, I think you did exactly what you wanted to not the NFL draft, in your fantasy draft. Your league highly prioritizes wide receiver. We have by far and away the best wide receiver room. Of course, we had to sacrifice other positions to get that done, which it maybe isn't ideal in other formats, but in yours it is. So the only realistic move I make with your team is drop Marvin Mims and pick up Xavier Legette now that you have Jalen Coker and now that you have Adam Thielen out of the way. I'm going to hook you up with some free questions just in case there's anything that you want to send over my way, my guy. But ultimately, I think you did exactly what you would want to for your league specifically. Now, let me move this over to our next team. This is going to be from Ethan. It's a 12-team PPR. Would love to hear your thoughts on the squad. Tight ends are tough, but we scale. So this is a 12-team format where we start 8 players. So the wide receiver depth here matters a decent bit. And we are sitting here with the number 1 team in the league analyzer, which you love to see it. Quarterback, we have Caleb Williams. Caleb has upside, but by no means is he a guaranteed guy to crush. Going over and looking at the waiver wire, there are not a ton of options currently. So what I would do is I would honestly probably roster 2 quarterbacks in your league. That way we have a second guy to possibly play the matchups with if Caleb Williams doesn't work out for us. So for me, I would personally drop probably either Tyler Algier or Xavier Legette in favor of picking up Trevor Lawrence. Because while yes, we are in a situation in which wide receiver depth matters more in your league, at the end of the day, you can only start 4 wide receivers. You're putting in AJ Brown, Ladd McConkey, Devontae Adams, Igbuka. You have Rome, Ricky Pearsall, Josh Downs on our bench. Like, we need to go through and we need to make some of these trades. I don't think you need to panic and make a trade for a running back. We have the second best running back room in this league. We have let's look at this. Yeah, we have Bijan, Kenneth Walker at running back. We're fine. The thing is, you need a better tight end than this. And I would love to tell you like, oh, let's go trade Rome. Let's go trade Ibuka. I don't think you're going to get the price point that you want for those receivers. So here's my offer. I'm going to try to send A.J. Brown and Zach Ertz. Give me Brock Bowers. If that gets rejected, I'm going to try to send Ladd McConkey and Zach Ertz. Give me Trey McBride. If we're not able to get one of those elite level, also we can try sending Devontae Adams and Zach Ertz to get to George Kittle. If we can get to one of those elite tight ends, beautiful. All the wide receivers slide up, and maybe we don't have the number one wide receiver room in the league, but we'll still have plenty of wide receiver production, but we'll have an elite tight end position as well. If those owners all reject that, backup plan is we're going to try to sell Ladd, Caleb Williams, and a 2-for-1 deal. Give me Josh Allen. Ladd, Caleb Williams, and a 2-for-1 deal. Give me Lamar Jackson. Those get rejected. Devontae Adams, Caleb Williams, give me Jaden Daniels. Devontae Adams, Caleb Williams, give me Jalen Hurts. So those are about 7 different trade offers that I think we can send right now. You just got to move some of this wide receiver production either to tight end or quarterback. And if you were to do that, obviously you don't need to go through and drop Xavier Legette for Trevor Lawrence, because if you get yourself the elite quarterback, you can get away with only roster in one. Now, let's move this over. It says failed to fetch leaderboard. So I'm going to sign out, sign back in to make sure that we can get everybody their reviews sent to them automatically on the site. But obviously, real quick, if you have not done so already, go down there and hit that like button. I think we just hit 300 likes, so we're going to be giving out some free vouchers to somebody on the site. So go to the live chat right now and spam your flockfantasy.com username. And we'll pick one of y'all randomly to get some free vouchers. And with that as well, obviously, I'm sure y'all have seen us answering a ton of those free start set questions and trade questions from people in the stream. And those are mainly from people that have gotten the 2025 flockfantasy.com season pass, which will get you hooked up with those free trade voucher, start set vouchers. Now let's move this back. So Bo knows will be our next team, but first let's pick somebody. We got Drake May Lover. I'll see if I can find you on the site, my friend. I got a feeling that you used code FSE. Let's see. We got Drake May Lover, Drake May Fan. Got a bunch of people out here. So let me go ahead and get you set up, my friend. See your account. I just sent you over a couple free vouchers, which I really appreciate you sticking with me for so long. Now, and hit that like button. When we hit 400 likes, we'll do another giveaway. But Bo Knows says, hey, Mason, just drafted my team last night. I'm overall happy with how I did. My weak point is for sure tight end with only Dallas Goedert. I do have a lot of depth at wide receiver, so I'm thinking of making a trade to upgrade tight end would be the play. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the team. So first thing is, what the hell was this team doing at the very bottom? Y'all really have a taco in your league. This team's, what were their round 1 and round 2 picks? They're like best 2 players are Kyron Williams and James Cook. Are you telling me they took Kyron Williams and James Cook in the first 2 rounds? So good thing for us, be a little bit easier to get to the playoffs. But anyway, we are sitting with a pretty strong team. Let's go ahead and pull this up and let me send you over some free vouchers just in case you have anything that you want us to answer as follow-ups. But first thing is, this is a 10-team start 8 league. So we are in a position in which the depth isn't going to matter too much because we can get players simply off the waiver wire. And we kind of want to be shooting for the highest ceiling that we possibly can. Now, it's not like depth is meaningless because we can start 4 wide receivers weekly, but it's not the top priority. Quarterback, we have Lamar. So in my opinion, you don't need to roster Fields. I understand that Fields does have a crazy high ceiling. And in a 12-team league, I definitely think that he should be rostered because if he smashes, you could trade him for a decent bit. But on the waiver wire, there's like McCarthy, Lawrence, Penix, Tua, Bryce Young, Stafford. I mean, there are plenty of quarterbacks on waivers that you could pick up if Lamar were to get injured or if you were to get to week 7 and need to fill a bye. So for me, I would probably opt to roster a running back instead of Fields, like Trey Benson, because like, how does Fields ever hit your starting lineup? He probably doesn't. Trey Benson, if you were to get a James Conner injury, could turn into a league-winning running back. So for me, I would drop Fields. I would pick up Benson. Running back, we have Genty, Hampton, Pollard, Jalen Warren, and Braylon Allen. So we have the third best running back room in this league. I think you're really comfortable. I mean, obviously our top 2 running backs being rookies maybe is a little bit scary, but the fact of the matter is these are like the 2 running backs that we could confidently say are starters right out the jump. Going over and looking at CeeDee Lamb could break fantasy football now with the Micah Parsons trade if the Dallas Cowboys just have to go into garbage time from the very beginning of the games. Going over to tight end, we have Tucker Kraft, Dallas Goedert. Like, and even wide receiver depth, we have Harrison, Devonta Smith, Ricky Pearsall, Keon Coleman. You have a phenomenal team here. So our starting lineup, we have Lamar at quarterback, Genty, Hampton at running back, Lamb, JSN at receiver. And then we are choosing between like 2 flex spots between Tony Pollard, Devonta Smith, Marvin Harrison, Ricky Pearsall. So we have like 4 quality names here. So I would say that you're probably starting Marvin Harrison and Tony Pollard early. And then obviously once Tajay Spears gets back, then you're probably pivoting from Pollard to Devonta Smith. So with that in mind, I would say that you have enough depth where if we can upgrade tight end, I would like to. The question is like, what is the best way to go about this? Because if we look at trading like our true depth receivers, like Ricky Pearsall, it's going to be hard to find somebody in a 10-team league that's excited to pay a price to go and get them. So my go-to always with this is like, obviously we're not wanting to sell CeeDee Lamb. We're not wanting to sell like the true elite names. But we could always go through and we could always look to sell like Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? We could go through and we could sell JSN to try to get that upgrade to the elite tight end with George Kittle. My initial offer would be JSN and Kraft for Brock Bowers, Trey McBride. I'd send those 2 first and see if we get accepted. Fact of the matter is it's probably going to get rejected and you probably got to pivot over to like, then I would offer the Kittle team, Marvin Harrison and Tucker Kraft for Kittle. If they reject that, then I'll go up to JSN and Kraft for Kittle. But I think the only moves that you really need to make with this team is I'd probably consider cutting Fields in favor of Benson. And I would consider trading for a better tight ends. I don't think you're going to be able to make a trade that you're really excited about with Ricky Pearsall or Smith for a better tight end. I don't think that range gets you to Kittle, but I think JSN potentially could. And then if you trade JSN, Marvin Harrison slides up to wide receiver 2, Smith wide receiver 3, Ricky Pearsall wide receiver 4. We're still fine there, right? So just make the small waiver wire move, make the trade for the better tight end if we can. But overall, I think you have a really strong team as is. Now let's move this over to our next team. It's going to be from Kai. Says, F myself with the running backs. So we are picking Andrew. We are the 3rd spot in the league analyzer. Here we have Lamar at quarterback. Drake May as our QB2. It's a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So I would say like the majority of leagues, I'm not going to roster a second QB, but this is why I always go through and check the waiver wire. And the waiver wire right now, you have like Daniel Jones, Aaron Rodgers as your best options. So I don't think you could drop Drake May, because then if Lamar were to go down, you're really screwed because everybody in your league looks like they're rostering 3 QBs. Now, going over and looking at what we have at running back, we have Brees, Pacheco, Caleb, Etienne, Brian. This is definitely the worst running back room in the league. It is currently ranked 10th in the league analyzer. It's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format, so the wide receiver depth isn't going to matter much. Like we have Nico, Malik Neighbors as our top 2 receivers. We have Ladd in the flex, which, I mean, you love to see all that. It's crazy that we have Nico, Neighbors, Ladd, Lamar all on the same team. That's why we're so high in the analyzer. But it just means that Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed are useless for us. So I think with a team like this, it makes a lot of sense to see if we can go out there and see if we can try to upgrade at running back. Like, I don't want to be trading away Travis Hunter, but I think based off like the upside that we have, where we can pretty confidently say at least one of Travis Hunter, Matthew Golden, Josh Downs, Jaden Reed, one of these guys are going to hit, right? So I think this does make Ladd McConkey expendable, where if you could go through and if you could sell Ladd and Isaiah Pacheco in a 2-for-1 deal to get to the running back range of Jonathan Taylor, Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Devon Achane, if you can get any of those running backs, I think that would be a very exciting pivot. If you're not able to, I think what you could try to do is just simply pivot from one of the elite receivers. Like try to send Nico Collins for McCaffrey, try to send Nico Collins for Genty, try to send Nico Collins for Derrick Henry. If all those owners reject, you could go through and try to do the same thing with Malik Neighbors for those same running backs. So again, this is just another one of those teams where you just have so much depth down there at wide receiver, and where it's a 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. I think you're too weak at running back. It makes a lot of sense for us to send a receiver for an RB, but you're just simply not going to be able to get a ton of value if you were to go through and if you were to try to like sell Travis Hunter for that running back, sell Matthew Golden for that running back. We're excited about those running backs. I think we can honestly afford to hold on to them. I'm sorry, we're excited about those receivers. I think we can afford to hold on to them. We could trade the elite wide receiver for an elite RB, and we can bank on the cheap wide receiver upside on our own team. Now, MPO 90 coming through. Happy to see my friend says, kept Jamar, didn't have a 2nd round pick. Made do with what I could using the draft guide. A lot of people reached for the hot rookies, so my team is semi-unk status. Don't like my quarterback situation. And where are we in the league analyzer? Okay, we are here 7th. I was just a little concerned that we actually didn't link the team. But don't like my quarterback situation. I feel like I need to make a move at wide receiver, any trade targets. So a couple different things here. One, I don't like to see that we are so far down the league analyzer, but what I do like to see is I think that there are very easy moves that we could make today to move this team up it. So Russell Wilson, there's just no way in hell you're ever starting this dude. Russell Wilson very easily could possibly be a better real life quarterback at the beginning of the season than Caleb, than Justin Fields. But the rushing upside that you're going to be able to get from Fields just makes him an option that is going to dramatically outscore Russ. So for me, I would go through and I would cut Russell Wilson, pick up your favorite quarterback between Caleb Williams, Justin Fields. That should give us a nice little bump in the league analyzer. And if we have Justin Herbert and Caleb Williams, am I excited about the QB room? No. But you could probably get away with it and just play the matchup. Now, going over to running back's very weak here. And which I absolutely hate to see that. The reason being is this is a start 2 wide receiver, 1 flex, half PPR format. So for us to be sitting with Kamara, Walker, Algier, Will Shipley, like, don't get me wrong, I think that we are in a spot where Like the top end running backs are okay. It's just that like you don't really have any depth down below. So what I would potentially be looking to do is I would potentially be looking to okay. I would potentially just be looking to add more depth running backs to this team. So if you didn't want to roster 2 quarterbacks based off the quarterbacks that are available on your waiver wire with Caleb, Fields, McCarthy, Lawrence, you could maybe get away with just streaming the quarterback position and cutting Russell Wilson in favor of Woody Marks instead of the QB. Or you could go Tajee Spears, especially if you're in our spot. I think Spears could help us build out the depth. For me, after the Jalen Coker injury news, especially with Adam Thielen getting traded last week, I think we would go ahead and we would cut Marvin Mims in favor of Xavier Legette. And I would like to potentially try to make a trade to upgrade quarterback, but you just can't afford it. Like, the only players we could reasonably trade to get an upgrade at QB that like people would actually take would be Alvin Kamara and Kenneth Walker and Jamar Chase. And based off the lack of depth that we have with the skill positional guys, there's just no way we could get away with that. You're just going to be stuck streaming quarterbacks, to be honest. No matter what, you cut Russell Wilson. You either opt to pick up Tajee Spears, Woody Marks, one of those running backs, or you pick up the second quarterback and play the matchups with them. I probably cut Russ in favor of Caleb. That would be my play. My second play is I'd probably cut Marvin Mims in favor of Xavier Legette. And then from there, I send up a prayer that Travis Hunter turns into rookie season Jamar Chase, that he turns into rookie season Odell Beckham Jr., that he turns into rookie season Justin Jefferson. If that happens, you will have such a big hit on your hands that it doesn't matter if this isn't the strongest drafted team ever. But if Hunter doesn't hit, I am going to be concerned for this team, to be honest. And if Hunter doesn't hit and you are sitting with like Diggs, Jaden Reed as our wide receivers 2 and 3 halfway through the year, you may consider down tiering from Jamar Chase to like Nico Collins and then another significant wide receiver starter. But I'm probably not wanting to do that until we actually see what happens with Hunter, because obviously down tiering from Jamar Chase is like our last option. But let me hook you up with some free questions just in case during the year you want to send something over. I'd be happy to check anything out for you, my friend. And let's mark this as complete, and then let's get to some of the quick hitting questions. Let's go over and let's look at some of the start sit, trade, and super chats, if we have any, which we do. Luke Hero sent a trade. This is Kenneth Walker versus Jalen Hurts. Running back, we would have Bijan Achane left over. Quarterback, we have Caleb and Fields. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex league. Yeah, I'd rank Jalen Hurts over Kenneth Walker. Xander coming through with the start set. Running back, I'm going to play Jalen Warren here over Braylon Allen and JCM for sure week 1. Down in the flex, Mike Evans is an absolute auto start. I would start Evans over Ted McMillan, but the fact is McMillan would be in your flex, so regardless, you're starting both. Now, Mitigated Frame says, hey, Mason, been watching for a while. This is my team this year. Won last year. Dude, you my guy. I know, definitely remember the name and really do appreciate you. And here, wide receiver, I think week 1, you're going to be going with Tyreek. Long-term, obviously, we have a ton of upside there with Tet and Igbuka. Week 1, we're going to go with Hawkinson. Long-term, we have a lot of upside with Tyler Warren. But this is an incredible team. Obviously, quarterback is going to be a little disappointing, and we are going to have to stream. Let me I know that Drake May is playing the Raiders week 1. Let me pull up the Packers implied team total, though, to figure out what we would do week 1. I think most weeks are kind of going to be going back and forth here. So Packers week 1 play the Lions. Over under 47.5 points that game. Packers are favored by 2.5, 25-point total. So we probably go with Jordan Love, even if the Packers are going to try to run. But yeah, great team. Elias says, first time doing a start 10 league. Kind of lost here. Yeah, so start 10 league, quarterback's going to make up a much smaller percentage of our lineup just because you're going to have to get so many guys in here. Oh, this is a dynasty league, so start 10 is kind of standard. But we're going to send up a prayer that Jaden Reed's going to go week 1. If not, your backup plan would be Hollywood Brown. Tight end, I'm going to go Dallas Goedert over Tyler Warren week 1. But the fact of the matter is, you may end up getting stuck playing the tight ends. And I think you're going to. I think you're going to have to play like Jordan Mason and Tyler Warren here. And then again, if Reed doesn't play, you pivot in Hollywood. But 10-team league's going to get a little weird, and you may end up having to start a tight end in the flex. Okay. Now, Royal, this is a trade where it's Juwan Jennings, Brock Bowers versus Nico Collins, Loveland. So Bowers for Nico. Give me Nico. Jennings versus Loveland. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, give me Nico Collins. 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. I like having the elite level tight end, but I think Nico's in a different tier than Bowers. So Eddie says, hey, Mason, you know my crazy league? It's a 12-team, 2 wide receiver, double flex, tight end premium. First 2 picks, drafting at the 105. Are we going to go wide receiver or running back? So 2 wide receiver, 2 flex. I think if you get Lamb there at 5, I am completely fine taking CD Lamb. And Eddie, are you in the chat right now? Could you please let me know? With what we have with the Parsons trade, you could just easily project out more passing volume in the Dallas offense than you could have beforehand. Eddie, can you let me know? Can you remind me again? What is the scoring of this? I remember that this is a wild league, but can you just remind me the exact details in the live chat? And then if you were to go Lamb round 1, the only wide receiver I'd consider there if he were to make it back to you in the second is if you get like London, or of course, if you get like a massive follower like Brian Thomas, you would take that. But the only wide receiver that reasonably would be there would be London. I think you'd probably pivot if you go Lamb round 1 in this league to in round 2, you're going like a running back in the tier of Chase Brown, Bucky Irving, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs. Okay, Easy Eddie says it's 1 point. Okay, this is what I thought. 1.5 PPR for running back, 2 points PPR for wide receiver. So wide receiver will be the optimal flex. So I would opt to go with CD Lamb there at 5 if we could get him. I would honestly take Jefferson at 5 as well over Saquon Barkley in this league. Jefferson's just going to score significantly more points than Barkley. And then around 2, honestly, I may just go ahead and pull the trigger on Drake London or A.J. Brown if he makes it. I think that your league is one in which we want 4 hammers at wide receiver in the starting lineup every single week that are just going to see a ridiculous amount of volume. And there's almost no scenario in which we don't want a wide receiver in our flex. But I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way, my guy. And yeah, happy to see that you're back with us this year. Now, Damon coming through. I'm assuming that you accidentally filled this in wrong. You did not put anybody on the other side of the trade, just everybody on one side. So I'm going to get you sent over a free trade question and feel free to resubmit this, my friend. Now, Kali coming through. This is us trading Jaden Daniels, David Montgomery, Terry McLaurin, and getting back Bo Nix, RJ Harvey, and Malik Neighbors. So Daniels to Nix, downgrade. Montgomery to Harvey, slight upgrade. But we get the massive upgrade to Neighbors, who's just in a completely different tier than any other player here. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and we will take the Malik Neighbors side of this. Okay. Owen says, change the title to dominant. What did I title this as? Did I misspell the title? And did y'all let me live stream for... Oh my gosh. That is embarrassing. I misspelled the title that bad and nobody thought to say anything until now. How dare y'all? How dare y'all? That is maybe about the rudest thing I've seen all day. Y'all got to help me out here. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's pull back up some of these teams. And we are working our way down these teams. Don't get me wrong. We're still far behind, but we're working our way. Now, Tiny Dancer, always happy to see you. Says, thought I'd be higher in the league analyzer. What moves can we make? Hell, I mean, we're third in the analyzer. How long do we realistically hold on to B-Rob before moving on? I think Ingram is wildly undervalued, but expert seems to disagree. Is there a tight end move to make? Do we need a stronger wide receiver 2/flex? So this is a 10-team, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex format. So here, the wide receiver depth, not going to matter much. I would like an elite tight ends. I would like an elite quarterback if we could. We have Lamar. So obviously I'm really excited about that. Looking at what we have at running back, we're excited at running back as well with Genty, Henry, Pacheco. And we have the high upside shots that could turn into league-winning RBs if the starter would go down in front of them with Braylon, Benson, Brian Robinson, and Spears. So I love what we have at running back. Wide receiver, we have Puka, Neighbors, Sutton, Ricky Pearsall. It's not like we're overloaded with wide receiver. I love your team. Waiver wire moves. I honestly probably cut Brian Robinson for Rachaad White kind of regardless, because we've seen Rachaad White as a starting running back in his own backfield, and he is a running back 1 in fantasy when that happens, or at least he was 2 years ago. We go ahead and we look at Brian Robinson. We've seen him being the running back in his backfield, and he's like an RB2. So for me personally, I would cut B-Rob. I would pick up Rachaad White. That's under the assumption that Tajee Spears is on the IR. As obviously if Spears is on the IR, we're not able to make that pivot. Wide receiver, we have exciting names out there. I mean, we can try to trade for a better tight end, but I don't think we need to overpay for one. Like, your team is constructed in a way where, like, there's no reason for us to go and trade Genty or Derrick Henry for Brock Bowers. We don't need to do so. We don't need to trade Puka Nacua for Bowers. And if you love Evan Ingram, maybe the trade like this doesn't appeal to you. But for me, one thing I would consider is maybe like Mike Evans and Evan Ingram for George Kittle. Mike Evans and Evan Ingram for Trey McBride. Mike Evans and Evan Ingram for Brock Bowers. Those deals probably get rejected. But again, I don't think you need to make a deal. I think that you are in a position of strength. You have a good team. I would like a better tight end, but if you're a fan of Ingram, I don't think you need to stress about it. And one thing that you could actually do instead of cutting like Spears or Brian Robinson for Rachaad White is we could just pick up another tight end. You could cut Brian Robinson for Dallas Goedert, just in case Evan Ingram isn't viable. But at the same time, with how many tight ends are on your waiver wire, you could also just wait a couple weeks and then cut Evan Ingram for a tight end if we needed to. But I think that's all I got for you, my friend. I really do appreciate you and really hope I was able to help you out in some way with this. And yeah, thank you so much for sticking with us for years. Let me make sure that you got those free questions. Okay, you didn't. That would have been bad if I didn't send those over. But the lady is visiting the family right now, so I am responsible for walking the dog tonight. And I'm obviously going to be doing the live Underdog drafts tonight as well. I know we only had about 2.5 hours on this live stream, but we went about 45 minutes on the other Dynasty live stream. So We looked at teams, answered questions for about 3 hours. I got to go walk the dog. It's already dark outside, but I don't want to be walking the dog at midnight like a weirdo in my neighborhood. So I'll do that, drink a little protein shake, come back, and we'll do the underdog drafts probably in about 45 minutes. Shouldn't take me too long. But appreciate you. I know that obviously we still have a bunch of teams to look at on the site. I'll be doing these live Q&As every single day until Christmas. All those quick questions, like the start sit questions, trade questions, super messages, they'll get answered within 24 hours. That's a guarantee. The team reviews right now, I'm falling behind. It looks like most of these, it's taking me 2 to 3 days to get to. Hopefully I get to a point where I can catch up on all of them. And then those also have a 24-hour guarantee that I'll see it. But for the time being, I don't. But I'm going to try my best. But I do appreciate y'all hanging out with me this live stream. I really hope I get to see y'all in the drafts tonight. I think we'll be doing those $5 underdog drafts tonight.